Be more interested than interesting, diversify, exercise, and be agile. And I really think that I could put a good argument together that your success is going to be based on collectively how smart you are and what you know as a firm as a way to differentiate yourself. Smart and know in terms of adding client value. And I think the responsibility for that, I'm sure there are tons of tools, gadgets, processes, databases. Databases of knowledge and all those proposals, that stuff's not worth anything. An inventory of everything is an inventory of nothing. The real responsibility and the real trigger to being smarter as an organization is at the individual level and creating an army of idea hunters. People who are curious and passionate about learning, understanding what their gig is, and making it happen. And it's not about genius. This can be learned. One of the titles of the book we flirted with was Genius Not Required. All studies of innovation that are really well done, it's about finding ideas, and here's an academic term, innovation is, in fact, recombinatory. By that I mean innovation is about finding existing ideas, and as Romer said, repurposing those ideas for your problem today. And those ideas are not going to find you. And habit trumps IQ, the habit of hunting. So the game is afoot. You have a journey to become the best. And I think by becoming smarter, that's the secret ingredient. Collectively smarter, individually smarter. This is my chance to be on Broadway, which so that's music from West Side Story. Loved West Side Story as a kid. And to put it all together, just a brief example. This is the team from West Side Story, minus Arthur Laurent, but Stephen Sondheim, lyricist, Leonard Bernstein, composer, and Jerome Robbins was the choreographer. He was really the driving force. But here's the team. And what they wanted to do when they had this idea is they wanted to change Broadway forever. They had a vision. They knew what they wanted to do. They wanted serious music. They wanted serious dancing. They wanted blood on the stage, not just happy-go-lucky Broadway. They wanted to pull it all together and make a ton of money while doing it. So it was about commercial success and changing Broadway. And their initial idea, so West Side Story, it's the Sharks, it's the Jets, it's the Puerto Ricans, and the self-styled Americans. But the original idea they had was in the 40s, right? And it was based on this. It was based on Romeo and Juliet. That's where they got the idea from. They didn't think of this on their own. Shakespeare, not a bad place to steal ideas, right? The two families, and love could never be consummated. They took that whole notion, the warring families, into West Side Story, and Bernstein, an out-and-out plea for racial tolerance. So Romeo and Juliet, but it wasn't West Side Story originally. It was East Side Story. And the first idea, 1949, was to have this all take place on the streets of New York between the Jews and the Catholics. But by the time they got the idea, they were too busy, and they started thinking about it in the early 50s. They said, what about this? What about this? The Jews and the Catholics were starting to marry each other. This isn't going to work. It's not going to work for West Side Story because, the melting pot, new people being assimilated through the ghettos of New York, generation. So this idea died. So Leonard Bernstein, in the mid-50s, the same objective in mind. They knew their gig. Change Broadway. Gang, racial issues, violence, great music, dancing. He's sitting in Los Angeles by a pool at a hotel, and he's reading about the Latino gang warfare that was going on in Los Angeles. And as soon as he read that from that newspaper, he said to himself, this is it. I've got it. I can hear the music. He ran up to his apartment, his room. He called Jerome Robbins, and it gave birth to West Side Story. So the idea didn't die. They kept with the idea. It survived. It thrived. It became West Side Story, and it won Tony Awards, a huge commercial success. And I went to it a short while ago in Boston, and there it is. It's still alive. It's still alive. But there was an original idea. They tried it. It didn't work. They stayed with it. They got the ideas from reading newspapers. They perfected it. They stole something from Shakespeare. They made a ton of money. That's the nature of idea hunting many times. Doesn't come out right away. Phil Schiller went back to 1983 to get that idea off the HP computer, but it sure made a big difference for Apple with the iPod. So, ideas are really an important entity that we have largely overlooked. But it's what I think you're in the business of. And as a country, reason, I lived in Europe for a long time. I think the U.S., I don't know if the people are any different, but I can tell you right now, we are an idea-generating machine. The way we have set up our capital markets, the incentives for innovation, and the like. So ideas drive economic progress. Ideas drive company progress, including yours. And ideas drive personal progress. None of you are going to be successful forward based on what you know now. It's what you learn tomorrow, and collectively as a firm, what you learn on this journey ahead. Thank you.